hello, hello. Y'all are looking great out there. I just have to say I'm so happy to see Ambassador Young and his beautiful wife, Carolyn. I can't take the stage without acknowledging my friend and my mentor and still our fearless leader. So thank you for being here, Ambassador Young. And thank you to all of you all for this great conversation. I have to tell you, my intro to Bitcoins and crypto was not the best intro in the world. It happened when I was mayor of Atlanta, and we were experienced the largest cyber attack in the history of any municipality in America. And they wanted $50,000 in Bitcoins, and I remember saying, even if I wanted to pay the ransom, I don't even know where to go and get it. So haven't I come a long way? I now have the honor and the pleasure of as an advisor on Coinbase, and Coinbase really had me at hello, because the conversation was about how do we even the playing field? How do we make sure that all communities, especially communities of color, who've often been left out of the benefits of traditional financial institutions, how do we all have a seat at the table with trusted partners like Coinbase? How do we make sure that our communities have access to capital in the same way that I had the privilege of creating programs following in the footsteps of Ambassador Young to make sure that our underserved communities have access to capital? How do we make sure that we are able to trust our institutions with literally our lives, our financial well-being? And for me, it was my children who said, "Ma, crypto, you better do that." So I'm glad to have this conversation today with this great panel. You all have heard the introduction, so we are going to jump right in on this conversation. I'm going to make sure I try and stick to my notes here. We know that crypto has dominated the headlines, often not in the most positive way, as I've mentioned. And Alicia, we'll start with you about Coinbase being a trusted partner and what that means, and how Coinbase has stood up to helping to fight scams and giving crypto and blockchain a great name.
Well, first of all, I'm just delighted to be here. We are so excited to bring crypto to Operation Hope's stage and to have the opportunity to talk to you about this important technology, and important to talk about the critical need for education and trust in the system. So we were founded with the idea we wanted access to crypto to be trusted and easy to use. And that started Coinbase and Brian's founding of Coinbase back in 2012. We consider ourselves safeguarding customer funds. We safeguard over $500 billion of assets, $500 billion of crypto, or 12% of the world's crypto is sitting on our platform. And we take our job of consumer education very seriously. We produce a blog called Crypto Education Tuesdays, where we talk about various scams that we see in the industry, how to protect yourself from these scams. We partner deeply with law enforcement, both in the US and around the world. And we've been proud to work with Secret Service, US Marshal Service, the FBI to recover funds on behalf of our users. It's important to know this is new technology. And there's a myth about the privacy in crypto, but it's infinitely traceable, many hops. And we are building tools every day, every week that goes by. We're building tools to continue to make this safer, more trustworthy. And we're really proud to be a partner and a deep resource in this space to really protect users.
Mm-hmm. Preach, I love that. And I would love to pile on. We're in a similar boat at the National Cryptocurrency Association. We're a nonprofit that's really here to help everyday Americans like me and you and my grandmother and my nephews
my children.
Exactly.
Me too. Yeah.
Exactly. How they can benefit from the digital economy. I think this technology is changing people's lives for the better, and the NCA has been doing a ton of research into who's using crypto in America, how and why, and who isn't, and what's holding them back. And any guesses on what's holding them back? People don't get it. It's confusing, it's complicated, it's overwhelming, and so we want to demystify it, take out that hype and jargon, and make it really simple and accessible so that people can figure out when, where, and how it might be able to fit into their personal and professional lives.
And you had some interesting stats that we talked about on who the face of crypto is. And I made some assumptions that it wasn't somebody my age, of course, or my gender, or my race even. Can you talk a little more about those stats?
Yeah, exactly. So earlier this year, we did the largest ever study of crypto in America, and what we found is that crypto holders really come from all walks of life. It's not just the young, white, wealthy tech bros that you might think of when you hear of crypto. More crypto holders are actually over 55 than under 25. A third of crypto holders are women. More work in construction than in finance, and almost as many in tech. A quarter of crypto earning households make less than $75K a year. And we're seeing pretty equal adoption of this technology among races, regions, religions. But when it comes to historically underrepresented communities, especially Black and Hispanic groups, they trust crypto more than twice as much as they trust traditional banking. So there's a real opportunity for us to bring the two together and make sure that people are, like you said, benefiting from this playing field being leveled.
And I think we saw that in the election because we have more bipartisan support for crypto policy than anything else. And it was because we have 50 million Americans that own crypto in the United States, and they voted to get crypto policy brought to the US.
And Tanya, in your role, you wear a couple of hats, including being an IP attorney. And for those of you all who aren't attorneys, that's like a super duper attorney. You got to be extra smart and get some extra credentials. You don't just get to show up and be an IP attorney. So with your hat on, your legal hat and your lens with crypto, what are you seeing across the landscape?
I really saw that this idea of digitally secured methods of exchanging value is really the next wave of digital ownership. So it was really fascinating to me as an intellectual property lawyer when I dealt in the realm of copyright and trademark and patent. These are things that are created with the mind but have some type of tangible form. But here, digital assets, we have the ability to still use the same technology from earlier, the internet, peer-to-peer technology, which really got my attention when allegedly, purportedly, people were file sharing. Some of that was copyright infringement. That's a panel for another day. But being able to use peer-to-peer technology, the internet, consensus protocols, and what we call cryptography, which really doesn't mean cryptic or illegal, but it's really encryption, an encrypted way to move things. Because remember, when we were dealing with peer-to-peer technology, I could make a perfect digital MP3 file, and I could send it to you, but I still had the original, now you had one. That might work well for file sharing. It does not work well for money and for value. And so that really interested me and brought me in as a professor, as a lawyer, and also just as an academic, really wanting to make sense of this for our community in particular, because this is the next wave of technology, and we cannot afford to get left behind by mis and disinformation. So demystifying the space is my calling and my charge.
Why do you?
All right, let's go.
It's nothing like a great hype section.
Let's go.
So why do you think crypto has gotten such a bad name? Or does it have a bad name? And how do we fix that?
I'm happy to take the
That's you.
lead. My background's in communications, so I definitely have lots of thoughts and feelings and opinions on sort of how the public perception has been shaped. And I think that it's human nature to fear what we don't understand. And if you look at history, any new technology, AI, even the internet, railroads, automobiles, even electricity, when these new things come on the scene, people don't understand it. And so they're inherently going to push it away. And then we unfortunately saw some early bad apples spoil the bunch. Cough, cough, Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world, and I think that that's really what the media has grabbed onto, and it's becoming a little bit fear-mongering, and I think that we need to help people get to the truth. This technology is not inherently good or bad, but the more that we can educate people about what it is, how it works, and how they can use it, the more that we can keep bad actors out and help good actors thrive.
And I know Coinbase has been a leader in trying to get through legislation, federal legislation, to make sure that everybody has rules that they have to abide by. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think that players have long craved clear rules for consumer protection. We believe it's critical to have rules that will protect consumers when we're dealing with new assets of value. This is moving value onto the internet, onto the digital sphere. And so for over a decade, we've been advocating for regulatory clarity here in the US. We saw a really unfortunate trend occurring where a lot of the developers were moving offshore. A lot of the new innovations were moving out of the United States because we were creating a hostile environment for innovation here. So we've just seen, as I mentioned earlier, with bipartisan support, just a groundswell of focus now to bring forth policy in the US. The Genius Act was passed into law earlier this year. This gave us rules on stablecoins. Stablecoins are digital dollars. We've all experienced dollar technology transformation. Every single one of you in this room, whether you think about it this way or not, has likely migrated your time to checks, to debit cards and credit cards, traveler's checks, if you remember what those are. That was technology that we had to move our dollars cross-border decades ago. Prepaid cards, like just ACH, wires, like there's always been new ways to move dollars and pay people in different ways. PayPal, Venmo, like we've done it. We are now looking at stablecoins, just the next wave of technology innovation for how we move dollars cheaply, quickly, globally, in a faster, cheaper way. So this brought forth critical regulation that gives us rules of the road. It clarifies what a payment stablecoin is. How do we have disclosures around the reserves? Who can issue these? Who can't issue these? This provides consumer protection. And what we've seen as a result of this regulatory clarity is corporates are now saying, oh, could I use this? We're seeing more and more individuals being like, oh, I should own some stable coins then. Maybe that is a faster way that I can remit a payment or make a peer-to-peer payment. So really can see that when we create rules of the road, that when we can get clarity, it brings trust that we so critically need. It separates the haves and the have-nots in terms of like trust. And I think this is a really important trend.
And I've been really blown away by some of the innovation of governments across the country, from municipal governments to state governments, that are using blockchain technology, from everything and helping to clear titles to DMV registrations. So for leaders who may be risk adverse, government leaders, because you're dealing with public money and you know there are consequences if you mess it up, what would you say to leaders who may be a little hesitant in trying out this new technology?
Yeah, this is a really important focus because I love focusing on consumers and investors. I believe in strong protections. I've testified before Congress about that, and I take that very seriously. But if the industry is prepared and consumers and investors start to get prepared, but the leaders, the bankers, the CPAs, the lawyers, the C-suites are not conversant, don't know the language, are still, you know, I talk about fear as two sides of a coin, kind of pun intended, but kind of fear of missing out, but also fear of getting in. And over these last few years, with changes in legislation, regulation, C-suites have to get up to speed quickly. And so much of it is the fear of the unknown. And so the great work Coinbase, NCA that are doing in order to change the narrative, to give a balanced perspective, is the thing that leaders really need in order to have confidence internally so that they can turn around and take advantage of consumer-facing and client-facing products that are really going to make a difference in this new economy.
Are you finding that smaller and medium-sized businesses are more eager to use this technology than, say, a Fortune 500 company?
It's a great question. I would say, yeah, right? I think from what we're seeing and what the data is telling us, it is businesses of all sizes, from individual creators, content creators in LA who are paying their video editors around the world in crypto so that they get paid faster and keep more of what they earn. It's artists who are directly selling their artwork on blockchain so that they're cutting out the middlemen of the art galleries and they're ensuring that they get the proceeds every time their work is sold or resold. And then, of course, like you touched on, Alicia. There is the big retailers and big businesses and brands. Sheetz convenience store was for a time offering 50% off to people who were paying in crypto because they're trying to incentivize getting people comfortable with digital payments because it will improve their bottom line in the long run.
Yes, we are seeing all types of customers come in, large corporates, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, small and medium individual proprietors. It's not discriminatory, it's everyone's welcome. Everyone is finding value in this new technology.
And that's why this gathering is so important, because you're working with trusted partners like Operation Hope to let people know who may be a bit skittish or just uninformed that it's okay. And when we were backstage, I was sharing, I'm old enough to remember the Tilly machine. Do you all remember the Tilly machine? That was the ATM machine when I was like 7. And it was this new thing that had everyone blown away that you could go to a machine and actually get your money out. And we talked about, some of us were raised to believe that you should keep a little something under your mattress. And you said this is like putting it under your mattress.
This is the most amazing thing. With crypto, you have value on a blockchain. You get to all choose, do I want to self-custody it? Oops, I hit my mic, sorry about that. Do I want to put that on a private ledger and put it under my mattress? Do I want to hold it in a centralized custodian? It's fluid, it's an open architecture. And when I say open architecture, I think this is one of the greatest values of crypto, permissionless open architecture. You are not required to keep all your money at any one institution. You can move it, it is yours, it is portable. It just is your money moving to however you want to hold it. And I think that is really powerful. You don't have to carry suitcases of money. You can literally carry your code in your brain, or you can just hold a app on your phone. It is your asset, your value.
I think that is really challenging to people, though. I had this, about 5 years ago, I started an online course to really work with consumers, and it was called From Cash to Crypto. And the barrier I kept coming up against was that they trusted me. They actually, once I got past the barrier of really not looking under the hood so much, people will naturally gravitate to their own rabbit hole experience if they want to, but you really don't have to know everything about blockchain to understand. The one part about trust, and we were talking about it backstage, that we didn't touch on is, will we trust ourselves? Will we trust ourselves in a new economy where the whole mindset shift is really focused on empowerment, really on our own terms? And the barriers, this is the reason that we over-index in the Black and brown communities here is, from the failure of the Freeman's Bank, and so many institutions have failed us, that we over-index in something that it doesn't matter your race, your gender, your creed, who you love, etc. Either you have a wallet and the asset or you don't. That is a game changer. So really the only barrier at this point is what we're working on now, which is education. It's not the system, it's not the man, but it is the ability to educate yourself with someone who's not trying to sell you on a dream, but give you the opportunity and the tools. So really the work comes from a mindset shift and trusting yourself that when you have new information, you can make a new decision. And that's kind of the empowering aspect of this industry that I find so alluring.
And the interesting stat again is communities of color using this technology as a trusted way, whether it is to send money to someone overseas or just not trusting traditional financial institutions. So in the few minutes that we have left, we have a big announcement to share.
We sure do.
All right, is there a drum roll?
It's not Bitcoin for everybody, so calm down. Sorry.
You get a Bitcoin, you get a Bitcoin.
More important, education.
That's next year.
Education. Oh, we are so pleased to share with you that we are entering into a new crypto literacy partnership between Coinbase, the National Cryptocurrency Association, and Operation Hope. And I'm going to tell you from Coinbase's seat why this is so important to us, and I'm going to let Ali share the great work that we hope to do together. But Operation Hope, 30 years of bringing financial dignity to people's lives, a credible, deeply credible resource to so many communities. marries really well with our goal of bringing economic freedom to people, using data that we have to bring education, choice, self-custody, the ability to be your own owner. And the National Cryptocurrency Association, wow, for a very short existence, like 4 months of existence, has become a powerhouse of data, insights, research. And they are just going to bring a wealth of just thoughtful data together that we can then bring our customers' experience, Operations Hope's brand and credibility, and the key research to really drive a crypto literacy program. Yeah. What are we going to do?
So we're building and scaling hands-on crypto coursework and curriculum that is going to help people go from clueless and cautious and curious to ultimately crypto confident. So what that's going to look like is very simple written explainers, animated videos with the idea is you can watch it with your whole family and everyone will get it. We're not dumbing it down, but we're making it really simple and we're putting it in terms that people can understand. We're talking about what the tech is, what you can actually do with it, how it can fit into your lives, things to watch out for, like how you navigate volatility and market swings, right? We're not giving financial advice, and we're not plugging specific products, tokens, protocols, but we are completely agnostic, credible, and neutral, and data-driven. So these are going to be trustworthy, fact-based resources, but once you sort of get the lay of the land with the sort of videos and written explainers, then we're going to do more hands-on coursework. We like to say it's like the Duolingo of crypto. So it's going to be little lessons so you can kind of test yourself as you go and learn. And then this will all culminate in a risk-free crypto simulator for people who are kind of getting the basics and want to try it, but they maybe are still scared to connect it to their real bank account, right? What if I mess up? What if I click the wrong button? So this is going to be really a full life cycle journey where we're going to give people the tools, resources, and hands-on support so that they can navigate the digital asset economy with confidence. And so the NCA is building these resources, and Coinbase is using their trust and expertise to help us scale this. And our first partner, our launch partner, is Operation Hope. So we're going to be giving access to all of these resources to Operation Hope's communities to empower you all to thrive in the crypto economy.
Don't forget the podcast.
And I did steal a page out of Tanya's book, and the NCA just launched a podcast that I'm hosting. It's called Crypto Explained, so follow us on Apple and Spotify. Thank you, thank you.
And when will this be available and how can people access?
Well, I'm so glad you asked because you are all getting the scoop here first. Our technical announcement about this is going out on Wednesday, so you guys all got early access. But the idea is that we're going to spend Q1, so January, February, March, really building this, tailoring it for Operation Hope's communities, hearing feedback from you all. What issues matter most to you? What do you need to really learn in your day-to-day lives to benefit from this technology? And the goal is to launch these resources in April for Financial Literacy Month.
All right. Well, Ambassador Young often talks about the Atlanta way, this place where government and civic and corporate and philanthropic leaders come together to make things possible. So I think it's very fitting that this announcement has been made here. And I'll just give a little plug. Even for the city of Atlanta, we had the opportunity to partner with Operation Hope when we created a child savings account for every single public school kindergartner in the city of Atlanta. So I hope, and I trust that this education piece will go far and wide to our kids, to our grandparents, and everyone in between. So thank you all for what you do. Thank you, Coinbase, for being such a trusted partner. Thank you for being such a great advocate, and thank you for educating us and just being so daggone smart. Thank you very much. And thank you all.
Thank you.